The aces might be grounded, but can Kaz and Tora get around a curfew?
How you get so big getting food of this kind?
Hello and welcome to this week's review of Star Wars Resistance: The Disappeared. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, please go and watch it and then come back and check us out. But with that, we have so much to talk about. So the episode opens with a great Aces race, something we haven't seen for a little bit. I always like seeing more of the Aces. I feel like they were really promoted as a major part of the show at the beginning, and they've kind of been there for a couple of really important episodes, but I'm honestly surprised that they haven't been more of an integral part of the show. I think they're going to be in the next couple of episodes, and they certainly were in this episode, so I was excited to see more of them, and I hope we see more of them in the future. That said, next time we see them, that will definitely be in a different capacity, considering the First Order has grounded all Ace flight of any kind. The races are done, they're no longer to protect the platform. It's all First Order all of the time. And this is kind of a final straw for a lot of people on the Colossus. See, Doza himself knows that the people are getting restless and they're not going to be happy with this First Order occupation. I think this race was 100% a morale booster. I think even when we hear that they're going to pick a new ace to be a part of the aces and that Tam and Kaz can kind of compete to see who gets to do it, there's really no reason why Doza would want to add an ace, and the fact that Niku is so excited about it tells me that, you know, it probably wasn't planned. This to me feels like Doza trying to come up with something to cheer people up, give them hope. Maybe if they can be an ace, they can forget about the First Order for a little bit. And then, of course, Pyre squashes that like a bug. Just says, nope, we're done with the aces. It's going to be just us doing security. This lockdown in general is interesting to me. So obviously, the First Order being the type of government that it is, subjugation is its MO. It's not surprising that they're doing this and they're trying to enforce all of this stuff by fear, but at the same time I think it's very deliberate that they needed this charade to be able to come on the Colossus, right? They had to fake this conspiracy with the pirates to get led on in the first place when they clearly have the firepower where they could have just taken over the Colossus. So why go from this subterfuge? Why go from this slow build to suddenly, nope, we're locking down the Colossus, we're here, we're done. And I think this has a lot to do with the proximity to The Force Awakens. That the First Order itself, not just on Colossus, but on any kind of world, is going from, we're in the shadows, the New Republic knows about us, but we're kind of in this Cold War, we're not getting in a lot of engagements right now, to we're about ready to blow up the New Republic itself, so we can be a little bit more forceful. We're not going to be afraid of showing our hand by completely locking down a planet. And I think it would be easy to kind of look at this and go, this is just what the First Order does, but I do think that the change in how they're doing things is actually relevant to what's going on in the saga films outside of just the series. One of the dynamics in this episode that I really appreciated is that between Tora and her dad. She could so easily be the bratty, privileged kid living, you know, with her dad who runs the whole thing, and she gets to be on the aces and all of that, but time and again she's proven that she's on the aces because she deserves it, that she is that talented. We see her shooting and fighting stormtroopers at the end of the episode. She clearly knows what she's doing, and where she's frustrated with her dad for letting the First Order do all of this stuff, she of course remembers that the First Order saved her from pirates. I don't believe she knows that this is a conspiracy on the First Order's part yet, so she's going to have very complicated feelings. And I like that she's concerned and expressing concern with her dad, but she's not, you know, angry, rage, bratty, I'm just gonna yell at daddy and be mad that things aren't going my way right now. We see that even later when Doza and Yeager talk, but even then where she's pleading with her dad and wanting her dad to see things the way she's seeing them because she's so worried about hype, it's not from a, dad, you just don't get it perspective. It's obvious that they have a real solid relationship between the two of them as father and daughter, and it's so easy in a kid's show to kind of like lean into the father and daughter fighting dynamic, and I really like seeing that they have this healthy dynamic between the two of them. Along with that, I also really like seeing the friendship between Tora and Kaz. I know when the show started there was a bit of a web of who's gonna end up dating who on this kid's show, but now, you know, Kaz clearly has feelings for Sonara, whether or not they're reciprocated. I think it's pretty safe to say that he doesn't also have them for Tora. I'm still not sure if age-wise that's even really a thing that people could be expecting on this show, but I really like the friendship between the two of them, that Tora can just show up to Kaz, and remember, Tora is kind of sure that Kaz is up to something, but she doesn't really know what, and she's just kind of giving him his space to not necessarily talk about it. But she knows she can come to Kaz and be like, hey, Hype's gone, I need your help. And Kaz is right there. He's not worried about his cover. He's going to step up and help his friend. And I really like seeing them on this mission together. I think they play off of each other really well. They're honestly kind of cute together, just as friends. And it's fun because Kaz is still kind of this kid at heart, and she's still so young. So you see these two kind of like ragamuffin kids off doing stuff and saving the day. I think when she's around, not that she's immature, I think she's very mature for her age and her position in life, but it does kind of force Kaz to realize, okay, I have to be thinking because I have Tora here and I don't want to get Tora in danger. That said, Tora also kind of saves his butt several times as he almost falls off the Colossus, so they team up and work together really well. One of the strong points of this show has been, you know, when we see Kaz and Tora, or Tam and Niku, or Tam and Sonara, or Sonara and Kaz. You have all these kind of duos that are really fun to watch how they interact with each other. It makes so many of the episodes feel fresh because you're seeing this different dynamic each time, and this episode just showed that they continue to have that with the series. Speaking of duos, I love seeing Doza and Yeager talk. The best part is it pretty much confirms that they have to know about each other's past. There's just no way that Doza doesn't know about Yeager's time with the Alliance. I mean, he's right there in Yeager's office, and you see Yeager's picture there when he's with his flight mates, so that they have to know, and it makes me figure that Yeager must know that Doza is a former Imperial, and I like that they know that they can kind of come to each other, and that you have the head of the station who knows that this former racer, now mechanic, who's just, you know, one of the members of the Colossus is somebody he can lean on. And I like that when we see them, they're not just complaining about stuff or worrying, that they're actually coming up with a plan on their own. It's not just the kids running around investigating, looking for things, but these two adults are actually doing something on their own. It's just not enough, and it's not fast enough. So I would presume they probably continued on with their plan after Tora and Kaz ran off. I really liked, too, that Tora and Kaz got to kind of go off and do their own thing with their blessing, that once again, we're not falling into the trope of, it's the young people and the old people, and they just don't understand each other, you know. Instead, there's just a lot of trust going on with all of these characters, and it's great. With one pretty major exception. I gotta say, I don't understand why the characters are leaving Tam out. And I don't mean that in a bad writing sort of way. I think it's actually going to end up being a case of good writing because they're leading to a point, but I'm frustrated with the characters themselves. You know, Kaz and Yeager are really just not letting Tam in on what's going on, and I get it. Tam is a First Order sympathizer. She has this somewhat of a loyalty to the Empire because of her grandfather. You know, she feels safer in all of this stuff. I just feel like if she knew that Aunt Z had been kidnapped, if she knew for sure that Hype had been kidnapped, you know, once Kaz and Tora found his racer, if they had told Tam that, she would be more open to these things. Instead, she's just left there kind of being the fusspot, you know? She's the one that's jealous that Kaz gets all the attention. She's the one that's mad because Kaz always messes up her racer, and she's the one that likes the First Order, and they're kind of putting her off in this position, but I feel like she doesn't really want to be in that position. It's just where she's left. You know, she's feeling pushed out by her friends, so she's going to lean into the First Order more. She's going to lean into the thing that is upsetting her rejectors more, because what else is she gonna do? I really hope that some point soon they kind of open her up to her and let her in, because I think when she finds out that Kaz has been a spy all this time, I mean, she's gonna be upset. She's gonna feel hurt. And I really hope that they, like, correct this for their own sakes. But as much as I'm frustrated, and I think this is annoying, I think that the writing is being done in a nuanced way where, even though Tam is coming off as this angry, huffy person, I can recognize that she's angry and huffy because she's being mistreated, not because she is angry and huffy. And I think there's a nuance in the writing there where it's not really the writing that's bothering me. This is just kind of how I'm seeing the characters interacting. And then, as I mentioned, of course, we had Aunt Z and we had Hype. These are two characters that I really like, and I like seeing them again. Aunt Z was just not having it with the First Order. She was telling them off. Even when she was captured, she was telling them off. She wasn't going to let anyone shut her up or do anything about it. It's an interesting dynamic there. I like seeing her stand up to the First Order, and I like seeing that she won't just roll over and let them do whatever they're gonna do. Although it is a point that because of that, she does get arrested. She does get captured, and it's not her yelling that lets her escape. You know, that this is the cost sometimes when you speak up and there's consequences, that the consequences don't just magically go away because you're still upset. And I think it added this kind of scary element, especially because we did get to kind of see them and see what they're going through. With Hype, you know, Hype was mad, but he wasn't even yelling from a place of principles or anything. He was just mad. He was blowing off steam, and he's out there and he's trying to tell the stormtroopers what's up, and then as soon as he realizes what he's doing, he's backing down. And it kind of shows you the two different ways you can get in trouble. You can get in trouble for targeted protesting, and you can also get in trouble because you're just a loudmouth. It was not a pair up I was really expecting to ever see, like Ozzy and Hype hang out, but it was fun seeing them as well as the other two that kind of got stuck in that box. But what I'm kind of worried about is at the end of the episode, we see them fly away. They're going to Takodana. Z heavily implies that she knows Maz and she's going to go hide with Maz. I'm wondering if they make it at the end of the episode, right? Pyre and the stormtroopers are there to arrest the Fireball crew. And so do they want to arrest the Fireball crew because of some other evidence? Or do they want to arrest the Fireball crew because they saw Kaz trying to help prisoners escape? So we might come back next week and find out that Z and Hype did not get away after all. That said, I think it could be an interesting dynamic. If the First Order followed them to Takodana, I think that could change some things up in The Force Awakens. Obviously, the First Order gets to Takodana because they're tracking the Millennium Falcon. That's spelled out directly in the film. But again, in The Force Awakens, that's a case of the First Order goes in to take over the planet. It doesn't stroll up there and try to arrest the people they're looking for. And so if they already know that this is a base where people fleeing the First Order are going to go to, that might explain the aggression that we saw in The Force Awakens. Or if they never go to Takodana, it might not change anything with the film at all. I just think that's something kind of interesting. It is also possible that Z and Hype can reach Takodana and find it in ruins, because we are now butting up to The Force Awakens, so maybe they get there and they find Maz in the ruins of her castle, and they kind of go from there. The ending of this episode was the first kind of true cliffhanger I think we've had in the series, which really shows you that they're ramping up things. I kind of want to talk about a little bit what we're going to see in the next coming episodes. This is based off of episode blurbs that have been released by Disney itself. They've been put on Wikipedia. If you consider that kind of stuff spoilers and you don't want to hear it, might as well just end the video now, follow us on the things, and we'll talk to you next week. But if you're interested, I'm going to go through some of the blurbs on the upcoming episodes and talk about my thoughts there. So next week's episode is called The Descent, and the blurb says, with secrets exposed, Yeager's crew must evade relentless stormtroopers, hunting them down, and find a way to reach the Resistance. So I think that where The Disappeared ended, they're not necessarily going to get arrested there. Like, maybe it'll be some kind of way that they can talk their way out of it, or they do get arrested and they escape, and this is going to be them kind of on the run, and I think this is where we can start to see a lot of the more action-y fight scenes on the Colossus that we saw in the trailer. The next episode is the one I've been looking forward to the most, and also the least. It's called No Escape Part 1. It is Part 1 of the Season 1 finale, and it says, Kaz, Niku, and Tora devise a plan to free their friends, but it is upended when Kaz bears witness to the full might of the First Order. So I think that this full might of the First Order is going to be the moment we saw in the trailer. It's going to be Hux' speech, and it's going to be the point where we have definitely hit The Force Awakens. The other thing to kind of note in this description is we see Kaz, Niku, and Tora running around on their own, which is stuff we've seen in the trailer. At this point, I'm sure Tam is arrested because we do see that in the trailer. So I think that in The Descent somewhere is where we're going to get that part. And then finally, No Escape Part 2, which is the season finale for sure. It says, with Niku's help, Kaz comes up with a risky plan to rid the Colossus of the First Order once and for all. I think that this is going to be where we see a lot of the kind of intense red-toned scenes from the trailer where Kaz and the Aces and the Tahar kids are like talking to Leia and they're coming up with a plan. I've long held that I think the Colossus sinking is going to be intentional, not unintentional, and that it's not really sinking, but that it actually has the ability to go underwater, and that we might see that as the risky plan in this episode, but that's just me speculating. Those are kind of my thoughts on where we're gonna go with the end of the season after this point. But that's really what I got for you guys. I'm sorry this review is a lot longer than I usually like to make them, but as we're getting to the end, there's just so much to talk about. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode in the comments below. Follow us on all of the socials. I'm always happy to talk to you guys wherever I can. And until next week, keep it real and fly casual.
Cooking can be fun.